Hello, my friend. It's TraceyTV. Hope you're doing well. Hope you've had a great week. Happy Friday. I am so passionate about what I'm talking about today that I have to make sure I don't yell at the screen. This has been a topic I've talked about vitamin D many times on TraceyTV. Okay, now I'm raising the red flag. It's red alert time. It is time, if you are listening to this and you are not taking vitamin D supplements, that you need to take vitamin D supplements. And if you are taking vitamin D supplements, I want to make sure you're taking the proper amount and that you're sharing it with friends. Anyone who's talked to me this week has heard me tell them to take vitamin D, okay? So there's been a growing body of evidence. In a previous TraceyTV, I talked about a small Italian study where patients came in with COVID symptoms and a group was given vitamin D supplementation and another group was not. And it was a small group study, but the outcomes were drastic. The group that had gotten a decent amount of vitamin D supplementation, I mean, they got like 100 IUs. They got a lot of vitamin D supplementation. Their outcome was drastically better than the group that had not. Okay, so a second study came out recently in the Journal of Nature. If you want it, ask me, I'll send it to you. And it talks about how this is more of an observational study, okay? So it doesn't show causation, it shows correlation. Those are two different things. However, this lends itself to the body of evidence, a growing body of evidence to get vitamin D into your body, okay? So a group of patients came in who were COVID positive. Some were asymptomatic, some were symptomatic. And so they tested the vitamin D levels of these two groups. In the group that was asymptomatic, 98% of those had adequate vitamin D levels. And the group that was symptomatic had only 33% of them had adequate vitamin D levels. And people agree or disagree on what the adequate level is. If you brought it up to what most professionals think are the adequate level, the number of people who did not have adequate levels is 98%. Okay, and here's the real important thing from that study. The people who were vitamin D deficient, their mortality rate was 7 times higher than the group that was not. So there's so many reasons to take vitamin D, okay? Vitamin D operates in your body more like a hormone than a vitamin. Every part of your body has a receptor for vitamin D. It helps regulate calcium in the body. Calcium is, you can take as much calcium as you want. If you don't have enough vitamin D, it's not going anywhere. It helps with blood pressure. It helps with anxiety and depression. Let me make sure I've got them all. Oh, yeah, and it helps fight, the flu, dangerous bacteria, viruses in the body. It always does, okay? COVID is no exception. And so if you're not taking vitamin D, you need to start taking vitamin D, okay? Period, end of story. I'm very frustrated that this is not a conversation that's happening more frequently in the national media. We should all be getting our vitamin D levels checked. And then vitamin D is affordable and it's accessible. Everybody can do it, okay? So I want to give you a couple of things that I want you to think about with vitamin D. And listen, I know you can get vitamin D from the sun, okay? I've had this conversation before. One of my favorite functional health professionals said, unless you're living at the equator and almost naked most of the time, assume you can get more vitamin D levels. My New York City friends hanging out in Central Park for half an hour, a couple hours on a Saturday does not cut it. You are probably vitamin D deficient, and you should operate on that assumption, okay? So let's talk about which ones I use and like, and then when to take them, okay? So D3 is the vitamin D that you want to take. D3 is the most absorbable, is the most accessible and readable to our body. So D3 you can get vitamin D from food, but like a tiny bit, and it's not enough. So don't even get me started. It's like people saying that they can get collagen from plants. Like, it's not enough. Okay. So and you need to take a supplement. Just get over it and get a supplement, because honestly, like, do you want to be healthy or not? Okay. So the vitamin D, I like vitamin D gets absorbed better in the body with a couple of other things kind of along with it. You also have to have adequate levels of some other things in order for vitamin D to do its job. K is one of them. Okay. So there's a lot of different vitamin D, K combos out there. I would look for one of those. I have a couple that I like. So I use Thorn liquid because it doesn't taste like anything, and I sneak it into all of the kids' stuff. Okay. This is a bulletproof one. This is an ADK combo. Love this. Here's the deal on vitamin D. It's a fat soluble vitamin. I'm going to have to go back and do a fat soluble. I'll do what the heck is fat soluble. That means that it's soluble when taken with fat. So you have to have this with food for it to really work. Okay. So don't take this in the morning on an empty stomach. Take it with fat. Okay. The other thing that you want to take with your vitamin D is magnesium. Okay, so there's a couple of different things that I like for magnesium. I'll tell you my two different versions. Okay, this is by Biooptimizers, and I can send you the link to this. I heard about this from Dave Asprey, but since then, a bunch of my other medical functional health doctors have been recommending it. But magnesium is like a bunch of different forms of magnesium. So in order to get the full benefits, you need the full spectrum of magnesium. I like to take magnesium at night. I also love to use, this is my Optimize. It's they're little droplets that go into water, and they help with cellular hydration, but the mechanism is also magnesium. So I do that as well. Okay, the final thing that I'm going to tell you to take. Hey, Lynn, are you taking notes? It's all my stuff. I'll give you all the notes later. Okay, the final thing I'm going to tell you to take, like just in general, during cold season, but basically all the time, you guys, is zinc. All right, and this is again bulletproof. It's got zinc with copper. We all need to be taking zinc. Zinc prevents colds, you guys. Period. Like, just take your zinc. Also, vitamin C. That would be my like short list on like the kind of things that you need to do right now. But I can't urge you enough. I get on here. The reason I do what I do is to help people be healthy and happy. I literally want to like print a t-shirt that says, "Have you taken your vitamin D today?" and like wear it everywhere. Because that's how strongly I feel about it. I feel like in a couple of months, we're all going to be talking about this, and you'll be saying, "Oh my God, Tracey was talking about this a couple of months ago," because she had heard it on a podcast. So that's the final thing. Dhru Purohit is one of my favorite people. He does a podcast called The Broken Brain Podcast. I love him. I also love Kresser, and for people who are on my newsletter and are in my Clean Plate Club know that I love Kresser because I'm always talking about how I geek out on his stuff. Dhru Purohit interviewed Kresser on his podcast, and I was like, taking notes like the little geek that I am. So if you want to, there's a lot of good information there. If you want a copy of that, there's so many things I can share with you. I can share the Journal of Nature study if you want it. It's going to tell you exactly what I told you. But if you want my recommendations on products, please message me. I'll share them with you. We can talk about what you're doing, what you can be doing better. We're all in this together. So let's figure this out. Okay? I love you guys. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.